Welcome to this explainer. As aspiring pilots and aviation enthusiasts, we spend a massive amount of time trying to know the aircraft's flight manual, inside and out, right? But today, we're going to do something a little different. I'm going to act as your flight instructor, and together, we're going to explore the flight manual of your own mind. Why? Because understanding exactly how you process and retain information, well, that's literally your secret weapon to mastering the skies, preventing accidents, and getting to that first solo flight faster. And definitely safer. So let's buckle up. Here's our flight plan for today's explainer. We'll be hitting the foundations of flight learning, principles of pilot training, processing information, physical flight skills, memory and retention, and finally, transferring skills. All right, let's kick things off with Section 1, the foundations of flight learning. Historically, educators have looked at how we learn through two totally different lenses. On one side, you've got behaviorism. This is all about shaping behavior through reinforcement. It's making sure you build the correct physical habits through rewards or corrections. But then, on the flip side, is cognitive theory, and that focuses entirely on what's happening inside your mind. It's about changing the way you think, understand, and feel about a situation. Now, in aviation training, we use a highly integrated approach. Think about it. We absolutely need your hands to react instinctively to a sudden crosswind to keep the plane flying, right? But simultaneously, we need your mind to deeply understand the aerodynamics that are actually causing that drift. So our first mental checklist today is the acronym RAMP. This outlines the fundamental characteristics of how we learn. R is for result of experience. Basically, you can only truly learn through personal involvement. A stands for active process. You can't just passively sit there and listen to your instructor, you have to actively react and respond in that seat. M means learning is multifaceted. This is super interesting because incidental learning often happens right alongside the main goal. So you're building vital self-confidence while you're really just trying not to mess up a stall recovery. And finally, P is for purposeful. Learning is always most effective when it's directly tied to your personal goals in the cockpit. Moving right along to Section 2, 6 principles of pilot training. Let's look at the REPEAR checklist. These are absolutely crucial learning laws, kind of like a chain of cause and effect. First up is readiness. Your basic physical needs have to be met, and you actually have to be eager to learn before anything else can happen. Next is exercise, meaning repeated practice. Your neural connections are strengthened when you use them, and they weaken when you don't. Simple as that. Then we have effect, which states that learning is vastly strengthened when it's accompanied by a satisfying feeling of success. Primacy means what is taught first must be taught right. Intensity involves connecting lessons to dramatic, real-world scenarios to really make them stick. And finally, recency. This just reminds us that what you've most recently learned is what you'll remember best. Let's zoom in on that principle of primacy for a second. What is taught first must be right. I can't stress this enough. This is absolutely critical in aviation. Imagine consistently applying the wrong rudder input during a steep bank. Unlearning that bad habit is confusing, it eats up expensive training time, and it's honestly much harder than just learning it right the first time. The very first time you learn a skill, it creates this almost unshakable mental impression in your brain. Let's move into Section 3, processing information in the cockpit. Okay, so how do we actually process all that cockpit data? The journey starts with the PIM sequence. It begins with perception, which is just gathering information from your environment using your 5 senses. Next is insight. This is where your brain takes those individual perceptions and groups them together into meaningful wholes. So for example, you feel a buffet in the yoke, you hear the stall horn, and boom, you have the insight to realize exactly what's happening aerodynamically. Finally, we have motivation. This is the dominant force in acquiring knowledge. It's literally the fuel that drives you to turn raw perceptions into actionable flight skills. But here's the catch. Your perceptions are heavily influenced by the GET PVS factors. These are your goals, any element of threat, time, your physical organism, basic needs, and your self-concept. The crucial takeaway for us as pilots is that something as simple as a basic need for sleep or maybe a very real fear of turbulence can completely block out your instructor's brilliant guidance. If you're exhausted or scared, your brain gets totally hyper-focused on survival or fatigue, and you just cannot properly perceive the lesson. As you process all this information, you climb what we call the RUAC levels of learning. It's a 4-step ladder. You start at step 1, which is simple rote memorization, like memorizing your V-speeds on day 1. Then you move up to step 2, understanding why those speeds actually exist. From there, you hit step 3, application, where you actively utilize that knowledge to control the aircraft in flight. And finally, the pinnacle is step 4, correlation. This is where you intuitively associate your new knowledge with previous understandings, allowing you to effortlessly execute complex, real-world flight maneuvers. Which brings us to Section 4, mastering physical flight skills. Complete flight training hits all 3 domains of learning. We call this CAP. First is the cognitive domain. That's your raw knowledge and understanding. Second is the affective domain, which covers your feelings, your values, and your overall attitude towards safety. And third is the psychomotor domain. Now, this is where your physical skills actually live. The process here is incredibly straightforward. First, you observe a maneuver. Second, you copy it. And third, you practice until that airplane literally feels like an extension of your own body. Now, a quick heads up. While you're building those physical habits, you are very likely going to hit a wall. If you ever feel stuck, say, on landing flares, be highly encouraged. This is called the learning plateau, and it's a documented, perfectly normal stage of the physical learning process. Your progress is just temporarily stalling because your brain is busy organizing a massive amount of psychomotor data, getting ready for your next big breakthrough. So remember, it's a sign of deep cognitive processing. It is absolutely not a failure. All right, let's shift gears to Section 5, memory, forgetting, and retention. Memory actually operates in a really fascinating 3-step sequence. Step 1 is your sensory register. This is where your brain rapidly scans the environment for importance, kind of like listening for a blaring fire alarm, while immediately deleting extraneous background noise. Step 2 is your short-term memory. Information is coded and rehearsed here, but heads up, it only lasts for about 30 seconds and has a very limited capacity. So the ultimate goal is Step 3, long-term memory. This is where the knowledge is deeply processed, safely stowed away, and ready for permanent future recall. But let's be real, we don't remember everything, do we? Forgetting is a totally natural psychological process, and it's governed by the FIRS checklist. Fading occurs when you simply just don't use information for an extended period of time. Then there's interference, which is when new or similar experiences overshadow older ones. Retrieval failure is that frustrating moment when you know the emergency frequency, but you simply cannot pull it up while talking to ATC. And lastly, suppression. This happens when you subconsciously push away a memory, often because you just don't want to remember the negative feelings from a rough training flight. Let me give you a perfect aviation example of interference. Imagine you're transitioning between different aircraft. Let's say you've completely mastered the pre-flight checklist for a Cessna 172. Awesome. But then you step up and try to learn the new procedures for a Piper Arrow. Sometimes that similar but different knowledge from the Cessna accidentally overshadows and interferes with your new training. That's interference in action. So, how do we actually combat forgetting? Well, your flight instructor knows a powerful truth, even if they don't always show it out loud. And that is, praise stimulates remembering. By offering positive praise, ensuring you keep a favorable attitude, engaging all your senses, and relying on meaningful repetition, we can significantly boost your retention of flight procedures. You are naturally wired to remember experiences that are positively reinforced. Finally, let's wrap up with Section 6, transferring your aviation skills. As you advance as a pilot, your past experiences are heavily going to impact your future training. We have something called a positive transfer. This happens when your past foundational skills actually help you easily grasp a new maneuver. For instance, understanding basic stall recovery naturally aids your spin recovery training. It just makes sense. On the flip side, though, a negative transfer is when an old, deeply ingrained habit actively hurts your new training. A classic example, relying on automobile steering wheel habits when you really should be using your aircraft rudder pedals. We see it all the time. So as we power down the avionics on today's explainer, I want to leave you with a question. Are you just memorizing the manual to pass a written test, or are you actively rewiring your brain to become a true master of the skies? Because honestly, understanding exactly how you learn is the only way to fully unlock your potential as a pilot. Keep analyzing your own process, embrace those learning plateaus when they happen, and most importantly, enjoy the journey of flight.